Oh, hey there guys, and you may be asking, wow, are you sick or sick? Well, I'm staying home from school right now, and I'm officially diagnosed with... Well, there's nothing to do besides stay inside, blow my nose, and talk about Corkscrew. Meanwhile, everyone else outside is talking about what non-sick people talk about. Apparently, Valleyfair is subconscious about the way they look, so they changed Corkscrew's color scheme like 3 times, which is stupid. In 1980, Valleyfair opened Corkscrew, and at that point, it was the only coaster in Valleyfair to have inversions. And fast forward 40 years later, and Corkscrew is still the only coaster in Valleyfair that has inversions. Come on, Valleyfair. But anyways, jokes aside, Corkscrew is one of my favorite rides at Valleyfair. It's not because it's super intense or super thrilling, but it's just very enjoyable. It's kind of like, to most people, this coaster really isn't anything special, but for me, it's at my home park, and Corkscrew is just really enjoyable pretty much every time I ride it. I have never had a bad ride on this roller coaster, which is surprising because this is an aero coaster, and usually aero coasters don't age that well, but Corkscrew, very surprisingly, is very smooth and just amazing. Like, it's so graceful and smooth as glass. Oh, and by the way, in case you didn't already know, I'm talking about the Valleyfair Corkscrew, not the Cedar Point Corkscrew. Even though these two coasters are very similar, they have some differences. For instance, the Cedar Point Corkscrew has an airtime hill before the loop, and the Valleyfair Corkscrew has a little hill after the loop. And the Corkscrew at Cedar Point is lacking the helix that the Valleyfair version has. And the Cedar Point Corkscrew is kind of rough. I've never been on it myself, but from what I heard, the Corkscrew at Cedar Point is just a headbanger everywhere. But whereas the Valleyfair Corkscrew, I think you'll be surprised of how smooth this coaster is. I am not joking. I don't know how they do it, but the maintenance team seems to have some magic because Corkscrew has never gotten rough, even though it's been through so many more winters than pretty much a lot of the coasters in the entire park. Anyways, it's time for the stats. So this coaster is 85 feet tall, has a top speed of 50 miles per hour, has 3 inversions, a total track length of 1,950 feet, and a total ride duration of 1 minute and 30 seconds. But we can't judge this ride based off the stats. Let's go through the actual ride POV, and let's review it piece by piece. Alright, first we exit the station, go through a turn, blah blah blah, into the chain lift. And one of my favorite parts of this chain lift is you get a great view of the Ferris wheel and power tower. Very nice views right there. And like every other aero coaster, we get a sound of that sweet nectar. Ah yes, we enthusiasts love the aero chain lift sound. It is sweet. But anyways, here's our first drop, and okay, it's kind of lame. Alright, I'm not gonna lie. You really don't get a lot of airtime, even in the back row, so really, this drop is pretty okay. And after that comes the fun stuff. We have a vertical loop, which, if I'm being honest, isn't super forceful, but it has some hang time to it, and it's just fun, alright? Loop-de-loops are always fun. And up next is a little bunny hill, and it has the slightest amount of airtime in the back. Not a lot, but a little. So overall, this hill is pretty decent. Following that comes the turn into probably the most iconic part of the ride, and that's why it's called Corkscrew, because it has 2 corkscrew inversions. And unlike the other corkscrew coasters, these corkscrew inversions are smooth as butter. So these corkscrew inversions are pretty fun. I also like how they go over the water. It's just very picturesque. Yeah, after that, the ride's basically over because this helix right here is not intense and not exciting or good. So the helix really isn't the best part of the ride. It's not bad, but just really dull. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a typical ride of Corkscrew at Valleyfair. Good ride? Yes it is, but is it amazing? Well, not quite. Look, I'm just trying to be critical here, and I want everyone to know that I love Corkscrew, and I will defend this coaster until my dying days. But there are some aspects of it that I have personal gripes over. For instance, the drop really isn't that great, and the helix is just so lame. And also, it's probably just my personal opinion, but I really liked back when it had the blue and white supports color scheme, because the new color scheme is cool, but I think the blue and the white looked a bit more classic and it fit the ride a bit better. Like, I know some people who automatically assume this coaster is one of the newer coasters in the park, but in reality, it's not. But on the positive side of things, this coaster is just simply fun. Like, that's the one word I can think of when I think of Corkscrew, is fun. It's not super thrilling, it's not super intense, but holy crap, it is fun, and you can marathon this coaster all day. It is so enjoyable. The loop is nice, there's some corkscrew elements that actually are pretty enjoyable, and they go over the water, which is pretty cool to see a reflection as you're going through those corkscrew elements. It's a very enjoyable roller coaster, and if you're at Valleyfair, I would totally recommend riding it. It's a must, at least one ride. Give it one ride, and if you like it a lot, like me, you'll probably go back for seconds or even thirds. So I'll give Corkscrew the final score of 8.7 out of 10. This coaster has some slight flaws, but overall, for an aero roller coaster, it's smooth, it's enjoyable, and like I said earlier, it's just really fun, guys. And that is a full review of Corkscrew at Valleyfair. It's a really great ride, but however, it's kind of weird how it's the only coaster in the park with inversions. Still,
Hello, this is the Cedar Fair headquarters building. How may I help you, sir?
build the invert.